What's up everyone? This time we want to continue with the front end and I want to show you what we got into the demo. So this is what we are already having, the first page, the recipes page where you have to choose which category you enjoy at most at this time. Let's see that I want something sweet, so we are going to something sweet. We have this page. We have the ability to select our sweet recipes, but what I want to do is to select the specific ones. So if I go to cookies, only to print cookies, this is what we want to achieve today. So we need to create this specific page. And from what you can see, we got redirected to category sweet. And if I choose cookie, it's going to be called special cookie. If it's going to be the pudding, special pudding. So this URL is going to be like a key for the specific uh, recipe that we want. So let's say fruit. If you go to salads and select the first salad, special category salad 1. That's how I call this. So salad 2. Anyway, you can choose what type of key you want to add. Good. I'm going to bring this to the right and open our project. So let's go to the Visual Studio. And again, just to remember you have the GitHub link of the code into the description if you want to get the images or if you're getting lost or something. Okay, we let's see how I called it. I called it Cookbook demo, and I want to go to the front end right now. But I want the front end and back end too. I want to open the whole folder. Wait just a second. Cookbook demo. This one. Thanks. Need to go to the command prompt. Let me just go to desktop, cookbook demo. You have to do the same but with your folder. Go to backend, activate your environment, whatever you called it. I'm using Conda right now, but I think that you created an environment at the beginning and I showed you how to activate the environment at the beginning, so just do the same. Okay, so this started my server and I have to do the same for the front end. So desktop, cookbook demo, front end, and hit npm start. And I'm going to show you what we have right now. This is the page that we built together. This should run with the first page. So delicious recipes, we can go to recipes, then showing us the type of food we can choose from. We can go to sweet and select our sweet recipes. This is printing us just a random image, just random say title of the recipe. So we want to build that component right now. This is our goal. So I want to show you. Actually, you saw how the component needs to look like. So let's just start it. So in the front end, in the source, in the app, so we have the recipe details and the category. And this is going to get us to recipe details and category. This ID is this ID. So sweet. This is how we are getting the data. I showed you this last time. So we need to go to recipe category to create that recipe component. So in the front end of the component, so we need to go to source components. Let's create a new component, call it recipe.js. Need to have an arrow function that exports the HTML for this component. And let's think a bit what I want to achieve. So we need to have a container, and this component is going to get some it's going to need to give some props, and I will explain what's meaning of the props, what are the meaning of the props. It's like for every recipe we need to actually send the recipe data. So recipe, and leave it like that for a moment. Okay, let me think for a while how I want to build this one. I want to add a class name, so deflex, justify content center, align items center. So I want this container to align all the elements into the center, and I want to add a bit of styling. So I will just take the styling. So we want a flex direction on columns. I want the items to be aligned into the center, but in a column way. A bit of background color of Alice blue and a bit of border radius. Border radius is going to make it a bit rounder. And now the recipe we want to have. I want firstly to open the other project to show you how it should look like, so you can better understand what we are doing. Okay, let me just drag the project. So this is our project, and this is the demo project that I already created. So recipes, select all, and just a second. I need to restart the other server if I want to use it. So I need another command prompt. Go to the desktop, go to the cookbook, go to the frontend, and npm start. Okay, there are too many terminals, but I want to show you what we have to do. So we need to go to recipes, and this is what we want to achieve. So we need to have an input for let's say to be able to change the name. So this is why when you just go there, this is why we are going to add here an input. So an input, and I want to make things look a bit easier for the moment. So you just have an input with a text align center and a bit of font size. And next is going to be the input for the image. So the input for the image, this is the input for the image. Okay, and we want to be able to show the recipe name. So we want let's imagine that here we are sending the, let's say, whole data. Okay, so all the data for the recipe. This one is a recipe component that we're creating. So I'm sending the name, the file, I'm sending everything, the ingredients, and to make the use of them, I'm saying this like a variable. You're going to understand this later, but let's say that here is where I'm getting the recipe. And from the recipe, I want to extract the name, the ingredients, and so on. So we need to get the ingredients. So we need to get the ingredients, but I have to import use state for that. I explained to you what use state means. I want to import the, let's say, steps, so the process of creating that recipe. And I want to get the file, which initially is going to be null. So because selected file is going to be what file we can choose. So I'm adding this file here. So from null it become a real file. So this is just going to be a way of updating the image because we want to be able to update the image. So this is the selected file if you want to update the image. And if we need the recipe data, which is going to add it here. Just because why not? So the whole data, we are adding it here because we want to update it later maybe. Okay, every time we change the image, we want to call a function. So on change, let me think how I think that we can call it I don't know, handle file change. So handle file change. So we want to call this function const handle file change, which is just going to get the file from here. So it's going to be an async function. Actually, just to handle it, it can be just a normal function, but it needs to get the event. So the event is going to be what the data from this input. So it's getting the data from the input, and want to get the file from the input. So set selected file. So I want to add it to this variable what I chose here, and we can say event that target that files of 0. This is how you extract the files from an input. Okie dokie. Now we want to be able to change the name. So initially the name is going to be the name that we got from the recipe data. So the placeholder initially is just going to be, let's say, recipe data.name, but every time I write something here, so how to do it easier, let's put this one like this on change. So every time I'm changing this input, I want to get the elements of the input data, and I said that this recipe data I'm adding to a variable because we want to update it in the future. So now I want to update the name from this variable, and we can do this like this. So we need to update the recipe data. So spread the object, all the fields are going to be spread here. So I need to update this object, but I want only to update the name. So the name is going to be now a target that value. That's how you uh, update the field of an object. If the recipe is something like this one, data name is having a name, username, I don't know, is having username, and you want to update all the name. This is how you're doing this. If I wanted to update the username, I would have done this. But it's going to be more like steps, and to have the steps, ingredients, and to have the ingredients. And from this, we want to update only the name. Okay, that's good. This should work just fine. And let's see what we need right now. We need to have a row for the image. So we need to see the image. It's going to be in a row, and to add a bit of styling. So the styling is going to be flex, center, and center. I want to have a row which is having the image. So this row is having the image, and to align it into the center. And then to actually see the image, we can do an image tag, and the style is going to have a width of, let's say, 50 rim, height of 20 rim, and I want the source to be recipe.image because recipe.image is having the image. It's having the source of the image, and the image is stored. So the image is stored into the backend, and it's having the, let's say, path to that image, and we can just give it to the source. Okay, and need to import the row, and after the row I need another row which is going to be the, let's say, it's going to have two columns. It's going to be the ingredients and the step row. And what you want to do, I want to have two columns for the steps and for the ingredients. They are going to have a bit of styling, so I'm just going to add the styling here. So the class name is deflex justify content center align item center. This is from the bootstrap. It's just going to align items to the center. I added this here too. I should be able to get rid of this, of the flex too. So I just want to add a bit of let's say, border. Okay, we need to import the column here. And for every column, we need to iterate over the steps. So the steps are stored here and the gradients here. And to do that, we can do something like, so we want to gradients dot map. I'm about to get the ingredient and the index, and then I want to render some HTML. So for every ingredient from this array, we want to get the ingredient and the index. And we have a p tag, ingredient, index, so to show the index. Okay, this can be just a div. Let's add it like this. Need to do this like that. So return. Actually, we can just reiterate that and have an empty return. Okay, so we want to return the p tag, so the ingredient. I want to return the input. So the input is going to have a key of ingredient, that ID. Every time we render some data, we need to add the key. Okay, after this one, we need to add the placeholder of ingredient that name, because the input is just going to represent the ingredient name. And every time we change this ingredient name, so on change, I want to get the change value, and we need to update the element from this ingredients list. And to actually do that, we need to create a copy of the array. So const updated ingredients is going to be equal to recipe data dot ingredients. So I'm getting the original ingredients and I want to update it. So update ingredients dot index that name is going to be equal to the new value, and then add the new array. So recipe data as we did up, but now we want to update the ingredients. So we are getting the array of ingredients from the recipe data. We are updating the ingredient based on index, and we are going to update the recipe data object, but we want only to update the ingredients with the new update ingredients. And we want to do the same for the other column. Let me just think a bit. This whole thing can be in the ulu. Let's see, not like that. Then we copy this one, and add the URL like this. Okay, what should be better is to add the div here and to add the key here. So key ingredient that ID. So every time we iterate over something with a method, we need to add the key on the wrapper. If I didn't, if I wasn't doing this for the other elements, please edit it. Just add the key for the wrapper, div wrapper. Okay, and we need to do the same process for the other column where we are having the process. So I'm just going to copy it. So the styling is the same, exactly the same styling, but we are iterating over the process step. So we get every step index, we print the index, we can add here the div too. So div where I want to add the key, The placeholder is going to be the name, and if we change the name, we want to update, it's going to be the same update. And that's it. Let's see what. So we should have something like this. Okay, and at the end, we want to be able to update and delete. So we need two buttons at the end. So if we want to update, handle update. If we want to delete, we want to trigger handle delete and to send the recipe ID. But right now we don't have this function. I'm just going to create them. Const handle delete, which is going to be a nesting function. So this one, handle delete. And for the handle delete, we added the ID, we send ID, and we have on the backend, if you remember, we created a function for the delete, and the URL should be something like so const response is going to be equal to await axios then delete. So we want to send a request to the backend of delete, and I showed you what axios means in the last video. And to the request is into the local host. So the local host is this one, and into the API delete the recipe, and then we need to set the ID of the recipe that we want to delete. So if you remember, here in the backend API, we have a function delete recipe and ID, which is calling the views.delete recipe, and the views.delete recipe is getting the ID, is filtering the data, and is deleting it. And the same we are going to do for the update. So let's see, we can just console log the response.data. If the response that status is going to be equal to 200, let's leave it like that for the moment. Okay, maybe we have an error, we can console log the error. This should be work, and maybe if we want to update, so we have the function handle update, we can go handle update and have a sync, get the ID. And if you remember, every time we change it something, so if I'm changing the name, I'm saving it into the recipe data. If I'm changing the file, I'm saving this into the selected file. If I'm changing the ingredients or process, or if I'm changing something, everything we were saving into the recipe data, and for the file we were saving it here. So everything that gets changed is getting saved into the recipe data, as you can see here, for the name, for the steps, for the ingredients, and the file is getting saved the same into the selected file. So if you want to update, what we have to do is to create, let's see, const data is going to be equal to new form data. And why we're doing this? Because we want to send files, we need to create a new form data, because this is how we are sending files, and we want to send files, we want to send the image, the new image, and we need to append. So our backend, if we go to the backend and the model, actually I'm just going to say you, so a recipe is going to have steps, ingredients, name, and image. I want to go to the API, views, and we have a function for the update. So update recipe, which wants to get the name, the image. So we are actually sending this, the ingredients, the steps, and this is what we are doing. So as I said into the backend, this data is going to be sent into the request. And I said before that you are going to understand it better now. So in the backend, we want to get the name, the image, the ingredients, the steps, and this is what we are going to give. So to actually send this data, we need to do a try. So const response from the backend is going to be await access that post. So this is a post method. So we want to actually put, this is a put method. We want to update data, and the URL is going to be localhost. So I'm just going to drag this one a bit like this. Localhost the same API update recipe and the recipe.id, and then we need to set the data. So we are adding the URL and the data, and this data is getting sent to the backend, the request, and we can get it. This update recipe, as the delete one is in the API, update recipe is waiting for the ID and for the data. Um, you need to make sure that you are using this type of codes right here. I don't really know how to call them, but it's not the apostrophe or whatever is this thing called. Uh, but I think that you can see what you're using. This is how you are able to use the dollar and recipe.id stuff. Okay, and we want to see if the response is okay. So we want to console log the response, watch if it's 200, if it's okay. And if it's okay, console log okay for the moment. And if we got an error, so maybe something goes wrong, we need to catch it and print it. This should work just fine. So let me see a bit. So I want to open the front end right now. So let me just close the other terminals. So this is from the Cookbook demo. Python manage.py run server. I want to activate my backend and activate the front end too. npm. So go back, Cookbook demo, npm start. This should start the server. Actually, we need to go to the front end first and then hit npm start. Restart the server. So we are at home, so we can go to recipes, select our suite recipes, and we need to use this component. So we created the component called, let's see, recipe, and for every recipe like this one, we want to iterate over it. So to actually do that, we need to go to the pages, recipe screen. So pages, recipe screen. If you remember, in the recipe we are getting all the recipes. Right now we are just printing the name, but we don't want to print only the name. We want to do something like this. So for every recipe we will print a div, which is going to have a key. So as I said, the key element .id, so the recipe .id, because the element is going to be every recipe from the array. And for every one, we want to, so actually firstly I want to add the style here, a height of 10 rem. Okay, I want to print the ID category. The ID is going to be sweet category or savory category. I showed you in the last video. And the h3 is going to represent recipe dot length. It's going to be for the page. So how many pages we are having. But this should be on the top of the page. So let me think where to add this one. Wait a second. So I got a bit lost. So we have the div, okay, and it should be having a bit of styling. So I will just replace this style with a new one. So the next style is going to be having a position of relative, display flex, direction column, align item center, justify content center, and overflow scroll. Why? Because overflow scroll means that I can scroll over the div, so I can scroll because we're going to have a lot of components which is not going to be able to be stored in just one page, so we want to be able to scroll. Align item center, justify context, just to align the elements into the center. Display flex and column to be aligned into the center and one after the other in a column way, and the position of relative. Okay, I assume that you kind of know the basics of HTML. This is why you are watching a React Django video, I think. Container. So for I'm going to have a container. I want to import the container, so import container. And in the container, it's like a div. I want to add the CSS. So deflex align item center, justify content center to make everything more centered. And I just add the flex direction column and position of relative. I told you what this means. Okay, and now we want to have a div and a bit of style for this div. So height of 10 rim, and on each one of, so for this page we want to print the category. So if it's a page for the sweet category, if it's a page for the savory category, then each tree, let's say recipes that length pages. So we want to print how many pages we have, so how many recipes we have. So the array length. Okay, and now we want to iterate away every recipe from the array. So dot map. We want to get the recipe, the index, and to print a div with the key of the recipe.id. So every recipe is going to give its ID. And for the p tag, we want just a bit of style. So font weight border to be more border, font size and the opacity to be a bit smaller. And I want to print the page, so the index and the page. You know, page 0, page 1, page 2, page 3, or let's say recipe 0, recipe 1. So for every recipe, we want to print the following. Then recipe index and the actual recipe. So we created the component recipe, and we need to import it. And as I told you, for the recipe, we need to actually send the recipe data. This is how we are sending it. So recipe is going to be equal to recipe. So we are iterating over every recipe, and for every recipe, we are telling the page based on the index of the iteration, and we are printing a component which looks like this, but with different data. It's going to represent the first recipe, then the second, and for a recipe, it's going to print this data. This is how React works. Okay. So I assume that you know the basics of React. This is why you come for full stack application. This is more like beginner friendly, but I assume that you kind of know the basics. Okay. Let's see how this looks. Let me just go here. Button is not defined. Which button? Yes, I think that I have to import button here. So button. Now if you go back, you can see recipe 0, recipe 1, recipe 2, recipe 3. This is coming from here. So we are iterating every recipe, and for every recipe we are printing the recipe index, and we are rendering a recipe component which is going to get the first recipe and is going to render this HTML and the logic for the first one and then for the second one with a different recipe data and for all of them. And we created this one, and let's add let's say choose file. Let's add something for the protein one. Let me just, I don't know, coffee, and we should work the delete. But next time we want to taste the delete and so on. Right now we just want to see the data. So if you go to the backend, let's see. Want to go to the backend, go to the admin, and if you go to the recipes, delicious pasta. Let me just see if I'm having the correct backend open. Yes, I'm in the demo. Let's go admin. So delicious pasta. Sorry, pasta. I have a bad accent. And I want to show you why we can't really see the image, and we are going to solve this problem right in a second. So if you remember in the backend, we had, I think it's the first or the second video, when I showed you that if you create the image, we made some settings to send us the images and save it, but you need to actually go to the static then images to access the image. So this is the URL that the recipe.image is having. So I told you that the path, so if we go to the recipe and we console log, let's say console log the recipe.image, this is how I called it. I think it's, let's see, I think it's where had the image printed. Image. So should be somewhere here. I think this one. So the source is called recipe.image because this is how we called it here. So recipe.image, we have the path to this page. So image is savory, but I need to go to actually static and images and the actual image. So this is why I cannot find the path. So what you can do here on the source, you need to specify, let me think. So I want to print the source. So the source, let's go back, make this one a bit bigger, inspect, and you can see images coffee, images placeholder, images coffee. I need to go to the static and images. So what we can do is do this. So const image source will be static plus recipe.image. And I want to print this one for the recipe component right here, like that. What I want to do now is to print this source. Yes, but you need to go to local host, so to the backend host. So let me show this to you. So this is localhost static, and the source which is getting from the recipe.image. But you need to add the static and the localhost. And if you change the host, you need to. So we go to the localhost static and recipe image. But this is just an easier way to understand. You can do it way better, but I want to show you everything. So I want to show you the easiest way. And if you change the host, you can just change the host from here. You're not going to have 8,000, you're going to have, I don't know, my host. I don't know. Something like this. It is like this actually. Okay, and now to the source. Is going to be the new source. Still not okay. Let me just print the source. So console log image source. And now if we go here, we can see the console log. So it's printing two dashes. So it's already having a dash. We don't need to add this one. And here we go. So we can see the actual image. That's good. And if we go to home recipes, let's go to savory, or I don't know. Let's go to savory. We don't really have a lot of data. I think I have something on the coffee, but we are going to add a bit more data later on. This just so we have data only for the sweet one, but we are going to add the possibility to create the recipe later on. Okay, so now if you go to a category, let's go to sweet again because this is just where we are having the data saved. We don't have data for the coffee, let's say, but we're going to add in the future. You can go to select our sweet recipes and you can see it. But what I want to do is if you go to the cookies, so the cookie page, I am going to create the logic right now. So for the cookie page, we want to send you, let's see, to another page, which is going to be something like, okay, is the sweet type of category and the cookie. So something more specific. So this is going to be called, let's say, special category. And we are going to have a component special category screen. So if you go to special category and the special category like cookies, I don't know, protein shake, pudding. So like here we are into the sweet and we can select all of them, but maybe I want only the cookie or the pudding. And I want to be sent to the special category and pudding or special category and cookie. Let's create this page. So pages, the JavaScript ifc, and we can import this one right now here. So import special category screen, and I showed you how to get the ID. So we can use params, but we need to import use params. And now if we go to this one, I have to be sent to the special category dash, I don't know, cookie. But this is going to work if only if we are making these elements buttons. So these elements are in the category. Then you just go to the pages category, and we have the category screen, and we have the button select all recipes, which is this one, and we made every component to be a button. So if you click to cookies, I want to be sent to, let's say, cookies page. So special category dash cookies, something like this. So what I'm going to do, this link is it's going to send me to the recipe details and the ID. So this for the all, select all, because the ID is going to be sweet or so on. We already covered this. But if I click on this button, so just remember, recipe details is this page. How we are getting sent to this page? Well, select all and it's getting me to recipe details and sweet. We covered this thing last time. So I want to be able to click on the cookie. And what we can do is to make every component, it is already a button, but for every component, if I click one, so let's say for this one, on click, I want to handle some redirect stuff. And let's cover this redirect. Redirect is going to be having field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, field 5. I think they should have been 6 fields. Let me just see if I forgot about one. Yep, should have been 6. Let me go up. So forgot about this one. So field, this is going to be field 1. So the first one is going to be field 1, field 2, field 3, 4, 5, and 6. We don't have this redirect and we have to create it. So copy, let's see, const handle redirect, and this redirect has to send us to the navigate. So we need to import navigate. So you can go up and say import use navigator, and to use this navigate element. So we want to go, every time we click the button, we want to go to navigate, let's say special category and plus redirect data. So we need to go where we have to be redirected. And I'm going to show you what this redirect means. And you're going to understand everything soon, trust me. Let me just think how I should be doing this in the most understandable way. So for the redirect, we need to have use effect. So actually, firstly, let's say const redirect set redirect. So initially the redirect is going to be null. So null. And let's see. Let me just think a bit. Every time I click on a button, so I need more fields into the redirect. How we should be doing this? Let me just think for a second. So I will just do something like this. So the redirect has to represent the redirect data. Redirect that field one. Okay, so this is how we are going to make this. So we need to import a new folders, and we are going to call it constants. And the constants, I want to create a new file called specific redirect.javascript. And this specific redirect, you can find this object into the description. If you are into the suite page, we are going to be able to be redirected to the cookie, special category, or the milkshake, pudding, fruit, snack, cake. If you are on the savory page, I call this savory 1, savory 2, savory 3, savory 4. But I'm giving you the example for the sweet one, and you can change it for the other ones too. So you can call this one, I don't know, sweet savory, and the other one to be salted savory, or just salted. Uh, Wonderful meat. I don't know. You can call them what the hell you want. But I'm going to give you the example for the sweet, and you can change this one if you want. This is more like a tutorial stuff. So if we are on the sweet page, we can click on the first button and send us to the cookie. The other one to the milkshake. So this has to send me to the cookie. This one to the milkshake. The other one to the pudding. And to actually make this one possible, in the category, this redirect data is going to be, so we have a use effect which is getting triggered when you go to this page, and the use effect we need to get ID. So we're going to have 4 IDs. If you're in the suite category, we want to import firstly, so we need to import these constants. Import specific redirect. This is how the constants are called. So if you are in the suite category, in the suite page, so in this page, the suite one, we are going to need the fields from the suite one, specific redirect that suite. So these constants. If we are on the savory page, we need to get the savory constants. Okay? I hope you understand it. Now we are in the suite page, so we are going to trigger set redirect, which is going to add in the redirect element. the specific redirect the suite. So those ones. Field 1 is going to be for the field 1. Field 2 is going to be for the field 2. Okay, so for the milkshake. And this is why we added here redirect.field1, redirect.field2, and this makes sense right now. Okay, and I just want to show this to you. Let me just wait for a second. Field 1 cannot be read. Okay, just a second. So redirect.field1. So the redirect. So the page is having the ID suite. So it should go into the ID equal to suite and add into the set redirect the redirect of the suite. We can just console log the redirect so you can see it redirect. So I'm in the suite page and the redirect is containing nothing interesting. Why? A specific redirect and we imported it. Um, redirect, so redirect use state initially is null. Let's see, use effect. So every time we change the redirect value, we want to console log it. This is what this is doing. This is what happens if we are adding this one here. So every time we change the redirect, we want to console log it. Ah, I forgot to save this one. Okay, now it should work. So just to show you, maybe we are going to the suite recipes. So if I console log here, the redirect should be the same thing. So it's adding the redirect.suite one into the array redirect. So we can see the, let's go back. Yeah, because it's asynchronic and I just want to print them like that. So every time this redirect gets changed, we want to print it. So if I am on the suite page, we can see cookie milkshake pudding. If I'm on the coffee, you can see coffee 1, coffee 1, coffee 2, coffee 3. If you are on the savory, you can see savory 1, savory 2, savory 3. I mean the sweet one, I can see cookie milkshake pudding. Why? Because the ID is sweet, so we add it into this variable the specific redirect dot sweet. So those fields. Okay. And then when I'm pressing the cookie, it's sending me to the special category and cookie. If I'm pressing this one, special category that will shake. If I'm pressing pudding, special category pudding. If I'm pressing fruit, the same. If I'm going to the coffee, click this one, is going to send me to the special category coffee 1, special category coffee 2, special category coffee 3. So it's going to be depending on the ID. So if you are into the salad, I'm into the category and the salad ID. So because I'm into the salad ID, this if is going to go here and see the ID is coffee, salad, sorry, and you want to set the redirect at the, actually do assign the value for the redirect with the specific redirect that salad. So with these fields, salad, field 1, field 2, field 3. So this is going to contain field 1, field 2, field 3. So if you click to the first button, so I don't know, this one is going to send us to the handle redirect.field 1. So this is going to be salad 1. The other one, redirect.field 2. So this is going to be salad 2. The other one is going to send us to redirect.field 3. So field 3, if you are into the sweet page, the field 1 will be cookie. If you are in the savory page, the field 1 will be savory. So it's going to depend on the page. This is how we can get the specific type. And now, if I go to the sweet cookie, I want to actually get all the cookie recipe. So to do that, we created the special category cookie page. So if you go to special category and ID, we want to go to the special category screen. And here what we can do, let's see, we want to have the state for the recipe. So import your state. So we want to be able to get the states, the recipes with that specific type. We want to have a function const get recipes. It's going to be an async function. And if you remember in the backend, we have a function called something like get specific recipe, if you remember. And the URL is going to be localhost API recipe specific category and the ID. The ID is going to be for this one cookie. For the other one is going to be milkshake. So we need to get recipes with the specific category of milkshake. Okay. And now we can console log the data and set recipes to data. If we got an error, we can catch it and console log the error. And we can print all the recipes. So I'm going to do something fast. We already have the logic. So what I'm going to do, I'm going right here into the category. I'm going to copy, let's say all of this, paste it right here, import the column, because it's going to look the same, but it's going to be specific. The row and the container and the button, I think. I did something wrong here. Yeah, maybe. Let me just see what I did wrong. So I need to import the container, the row, and the call. I think that we need to import the button too. And we need to import the Axios for the fetch. Axios. Let's see. Uh, wait. I need to copy something for the recipe screen. So I want to copy this screen, but it's not going to get all the sweet recipe. It's going to get, let's say, for this one, all the cookie recipe. So this is what I want to copy. This one. So let's just go here. I'll copy this right here. Paste. I'm going to import this recipe. So what we are doing different is that if we are going to the recipes, suite, select all, I can see all. But now I copied the code that sends me the all, so the all suite page, let's say, all suite savory. So the all, we just copied the code, and this I don't want the all from the suite. We only want the cookie, or the we don't want the all for the savory. We only want the salted savory. Let's say like that. Okay, so we go to the cookie, special category cookie, but it's not showing anything because we don't have data. Because every time we go on this page, use effect, we want to append this function, get recipe, to call it, which is going to add the recipes to this recipe field. And we can see the recipes right here. I know those should be on the cookie one, but we don't really have a lot of data. So what we can do is to go to the backend. So this is what we are going to be doing. We are going to add for the sweet one, and you can do this for the other types too. So let's go into the backend. This should be the backend. The local host 8000. Go to the admin and let's add some for the recipes. So for the pasta is from the category savory, and the specific category should be pasta. Save, and let's go and create this specific category. So for the savory, we have the pasta one, but the image is not going to really look like pasta. Let's see what image we have for the pasta. So recipes. We don't really have something for the pasta, but you understand the idea. Um, let's see. Let's do it for the sweet ones, and you can have a little homework and do this for the other ones because I just want to show you how it's getting done. So for the sweet one, we have cookie and pudding and fruit. Let's do something for the cookie. So if I'm going to the cookie, I want go to recipes. We have cookie and I want an image of the cookie. So you can just import an image of a cookie or something like that. Cookie. I should be able to have some cookies images right here. Let's see this sweet one. Sweet one, save it and see how it looks. So cookie, no file chosen. Let's see, sweet. Why it's not working? My backend got shut down. Let me open it back. So go to the admin, recipes, and for the cookie, actually what we are going to do next time in the next video, we have to add the possibility to create a recipe. So we're going to choose in the next video. So we have the sweet ones and we have to make for the savory some good names. This is what we are going to do in the next video. For the salad, some good names. For the coffee, some good names. And for every one of these types of categories, we want to make the possibility to create. So I'm going to send you the images. You are going to find them on the GitHub, so you don't have to search it right now. So what we did today, we made the possibility to go to a certain page, so the sweet one, go to select all and actually see them. And we can go to a specific category as a cookie and select all the cookies and see the images. We can do the same for the coffee, select all coffees, but we don't really have coffee. We can go to savory, select all savory, and you only have one savory, and maybe you want the specific, so savory 1 or savory 2, and we need to add some better names right here. This is what we are going to do in the next video. So in the next video, we are just going to add some, let's say, 2 to 3 data for each type of category. So for the sweet one, we are going to have 2 cookies, 2 milkshakes, 2 puddings, so you can actually see better what we have done. But I hope you understand what we are doing, what we've done. So we need to change these namings. This one is good. We need to change these namings because I don't want to go to the coffee and have coffee 1 special category, coffee 2 special category, coffee 3. We want to have something like in the sweet. So cookie, milkshake, pudding, and for each one to have at least 2 with data. So you can actually see some recipes for pudding, so some for fruit, some for snack, some for cake. So this should be logic. So in the next video is going to be a short one, let's say 10 minutes, 10 minutes, where we are going to add the data. I'm going to add the GitHub repo so you can get the images that you need, and I'm going to explain you a bit better what's happening if you didn't understand something. So maybe I will go over it a bit, why we can see the image like that on the page. But for now, we can actually select the specific category. So we can do that. We can select all the elements from a certain category like the simple one. So what we have to do is to create one, update one, and delete, and that's it. We are almost done. The next video is going to represent adding data. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video and you understand everything I'm saying and you learned something new today. Have fun and good luck.